Alright guys, I think we're here finally, a little bit of technology. There's always some challenges with that. Let me... But I think we're good. Okay, I believe you can all hear me. Just confirm that. Thomas, welcome. Luis, welcome. Fred, Tom, Mr. Asad from India. Hey, thanks for joining. Guys, let's go get started here. My name is Saul, glad to be with you. As Anna, you have an echo. How do we fix that? Echo. Jan, it's not the sun, it's the lights here in the room. And let's do one, let's see if that works. Okay, wait. Okay, wait. How's now? I think it should be without echo right now. Please confirm. If you have your own stream, close it. No, my own one is closed. Still echo? Better. Now it's perfect. Okay, yes. So there was two microphones open here. Sorry about that. Okay, anyways, thank you guys. Thanks for that. Welcome everybody. My name is Saul, glad to be with you. Welcome to the trading room. Before we get started, remember we're gonna be discussing live market conditions and trading live market conditions. So anything I say here is not meant to be a buy or sell signal on any instrument, any time frame. It's just the way I approach the markets and analyze the markets and see the charts and mark my levels. By any means, it is not meant to be a buy or sell signal. You need to be responsible for your own trading, and hopefully you can apply some of these concepts to your own situations. As every Monday, we're going to review the larger time frames, the dailies, and we'll mark our levels, and we'll see potential patterns we're looking at the markets and opportunities for the upcoming week. If we have time at the end, we are going to go to lower time frames and probably find some trading opportunities. Okay, sounds fair. With that being said, let me share my screen here. We're going to start with the calendar. So let me make sure we're sharing that. Okay, so let's just quickly review what we have ahead on the week and the events we need to be aware of. So today we already have the CPI in Switzerland. So as you see, the CPI, meaning the inflation, came up higher than the forecast, okay, by 0.2 points. And it is marked as green, like good for currency, because that means that if there's inflation, there might be some measures in Switzerland, like increasing interest rates in order to bring down the inflation. It's not a huge change, but still, okay. And we'll see if we have this reflected on the charts, but we had already that this morning. Tomorrow, be aware of the cash rate on AUD. We are expecting increments on the interest rate in Australia. As we see, the inflation is still high, and they're trying to fight that. So we're expecting a little bit of increment. We don't see that price or reflected in the charts, and we'll discuss that in a minute when we open the charts. We'll see what's going on with the technicals and how it's not aligned to the fundamentals in this case, and what can we do regarding. Powell will testify, so just a lot of volatility, during the speech. Another speak from Bank of Australia, so a lot of volatility, but unclear what they're going to see and what's going to be the reaction. Now Friday we have before jumping into Friday, we have Canada again rate statement. They're not forecasting, or we're not expecting an increment in the interest rate in Canada, meaning they might be feeling comfortable with the inflation, or they have stopped the economy too much, so they don't want to increase even more the interest rates, so they don't go into recession, because their economy is not moving, it's not active. So when we have this kind of news ahead and we fail up or down, we tend to have a massive movement if this comes out either higher or lower. So we'll see how the charts are looking for the USD CAD and potential movements to next key levels if this comes either short or more than expected. Okay, so that's for the Canada. That's on Wednesday, so important one. Nothing really important on Thursday, and Friday, of course, we have NFP on the USD, and we also have the policy rate Bank of Japan. It seems like there's not a lot of change yet in their policies. Okay, we thought there might be some changes with the new governor of the Bank of Japan, but at least now we don't see an important change on their policy rates. So we'll see how that comes. The Forex Factory doesn't even mark it as a high impact news. So we'll see what happens with that. Of course, there's the statement. So from the statement, we might get some surprises. And GDP in the UK, and as we said, NFP non-farm payroll in the US. So we'll see how the economy in the US is performing, and that of course will affect a lot of the next policies, monetary policies for the country. So a very busy week. We'll just recap. We have cash rate in AUD tomorrow. We have some speeches. We have statement in Canada, over interest rates in Canada, and we have GDP in Japan and non-farm payroll in the US, both on Friday. So those are the events to be aware of that. Let's see how they are reflected in the charts. Let me show you mine. So let's bring those here. Wait. Let me just move to my account. Yeah, I don't want to make trades on others' account. Okay, so we mentioned pound. Let's bring up here. We'll bring USD CAD, and I have a setup I want to show you. We'll discuss that together. That's on the pound yen chart window. Let's pull off the euro as well. We want USD CAD. Chart window. Just template, clean, template, clean, template, clean. And we had also Australia, AUD, USD. All right. So we saw, and let's go to the dailies. Okay, we saw in Australia that we're expecting an increase in interest rate in Australia, and even with that, and even when we have already that should be already priced in the market, and when the forecast came out, we didn't see a strengthening on the AUD against the USD. So I'm not certain about when the forecast came out, but maybe one of these large bars, or probably some of these from last week. But we didn't see a reaction where the AUD strengths substantially. So when that fails to happen, we tend to see the opposite movement. We tend to see the opposite reaction. There were not enough buyers interested in buying this market. So probably the sellers will come up and take over. So on the dailies, we don't see a lot of levels. We see probably this top supply. Let's see if on the hourlies we find something more clearer. And we see on the hourlies much clearer supply areas. Okay, so we have that one there, and that one there, and that should be the extreme we just saw on the dailies. Okay, so we see a lot of supply areas, and we see a fail on when the market had the opportunity to go to the upside. So that turns my bias for the next week a little bit bearish. Okay, of course we're stuck in this sideways range, so I'm kind of neutral but bit biased to the bearish, and that will accompany during the week. If I want to do some intraday trading, my bias will be more to the bearish side. Now if I try to find a good demand area to stop to holding, preventing that from dropping drastically, there isn't any. There's just not a lot of demand there. The next important demand area is all the way down here. So that gives me even more reasons why wanting to go short rather than up. Now we also have during the week we have, of course, events related to the USD. So the next big movement on this chart might be created or triggered by the USD and not by the AUD, and that might be just new demand or new supply being created that we don't know it beforehand. So the next big movement here might be a new demand being created and not a reaction from a past key level that was already printed in the charts. Okay, so if there were no news at all, I would be just biased to the short side, keeping in mind any of those red high impact news we saw might create new demand, and this might push the market to the upside. Okay, to a weakening of the USD, depending on what's the outcome of the news. And that's something I could not know in advance, okay, or I could not connect that with the fundamentals. So we need to take that into account all the time. Now, in terms of USD CAD, we see also there's not a lot of movement. Has been a very flat chart during almost months now. I remember this pattern here back in time, and that's a nice supply. But since then, okay, since this impulse was created, we has been just stuck in that range. Okay, so it looks like no fundamentals are being or making this currency pair attractive for investors, or to pushing large amounts of money through it, and we're just stuck here. Not sure unless there's a surprise. We saw we're going to announce the interest rate in Canada. So if there's no surprise, I would say we're staying stuck in that range. So we're going down. That would be the next movement would be to the downside. If there's a surprise, we come short or we come over the forecast, we might see an important movement and finally break all this range. But without the news, it's has been a very choppy and flat currency pair, and I just don't see any big opportunity forming here. Okay, so that's for the CAD. And Euro USD, they have been also very, very slow and like waiting for something to happen. We had this nice push to the downside, and we have the pullback, and we have the push, kind of a push to the downside, and since then we've been just slowing down and pressing into these levels, which are very, very difficult to in advance to say in what direction this is going to break. Okay, because there were opportunities already for the sellers to push the market lower and to break the support levels, and we saw that together. Last week we had the reaction to the upside and push to the downside, and that was the moment around these bars here to try and break the support level. We even have these. We analyzed together this pin bar, and there was a little bit of demand behind, but there was no follow through, so we consume already all that demand. So it seems like there's not a lot of demand here to prevent this to break to the downside. But the longest that doesn't happen and fails to happen, probably that tells us there's not a lot of investors or traders pushing money, and they just sit on the fences, wait on the fences until something happens and makes them sense to reinvest or to reallocate their money in one of these currencies. Okay, clearly the money is somewhere else. It's not here in the forex market in this currency pair. Okay, so that's true for the Euro USD and for the pound. Very hard to to get a bias or something from this. I don't have a clear pattern. I don't have any clear level. There's certainly no demand. We have still supply up here that we haven't retested. I want to say I'm neutral, bit bearish, but nothing very very attractive. Where I do see some potential for this week is on the yen pairs, especially the pound and the pound yen. Let's see, I'm not missing. Okay, I'll go to the questions. Okay. And we'll review what's going on in the pound yen. We talked about the resistance level from weeks. We were trying to break it. We broke it nicely. We created a demand. We reacted to the demand. We had nice push to the upside. We said here the target needs to be the supply area, which is here. We tested the supply area and we formed a wick on the dailies. And I will always tell you, every time we see a wick, we want to see what's behind the wick, okay? How this wick was formed, because this wick on the dailies might be a nice push to the downside, a reaction, and then therefore we can expect continuation to the downside. But if behind that wick we don't see supply being formed, so we can expect that wick to fail and continuation to the upside. So what we want to do is to zoom into that wick to see how that was formed. So we go to the hourlies, for example, and we see the formation of the wick. Okay, we have the push to the upside from the market. The push to the upside, that was a really nice push to the upside, real time. Okay, that push to the upside was fresh demand. We pushed strongly to the upside, reacted to massive supply from the dailies that we saw. Okay. And we, just banked down. We broke the demand area. That becomes the demand area once it's broken, completely broken. Like in this case, becomes a swap area. So it's a demand area that becomes supply in the future. So if we extend that into the future, we see how we broke it. We retested that swap area, and we continue it lower. So we have a change in bias here, okay? You know what I mean? From bullish bias, we're turning into bearish bias. The second push to the downside stopped exactly at previous demand, and we're just staying there, okay? Now, the longer we stay there, the highest the probability we continue to the downside, because every time we have these reactions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those reactions on the forex market, there's a lot of money behind, pushing the market up and up and up. And at some point, buyers or pending buy orders behind that demand area will end, and we might see a continuation just to the downside. Okay, so recapping, of course, depends on what your objective. Okay, but if we're looking for intraday or medium-term trading, I want to be, shorted to the short bias as long as we stay below that point, because now we have that supply area. Okay, we have a new supply area here, and we have a nice supply area from the hourlies, and we still have the full supply area from the dailies. So every time the market pushes to the upside, we will see a reaction from these supply areas pushing the market down again to the downside. Where that potentially ends, of course, always hard to tell in advance, but we shouldn't have any problem visiting the original breaking area, the resistance from the dailies. You can see the purple line, okay, which is that rectangle. That's the regional breaking area. If we fail on holding that, we might find ourselves pretty much to lower levels. But you see how bias changes a little bit with new information. We were very, very bullish last week as we were breaking, and we were in that no man's land. We were, as long as we were trading around that area, there was no supply. Okay, so we say we need to continue to the upside. Okay, when we got to the target, to the supply area, and now that we see how strong was the reaction to the downside, we need to take that into account and adapt our biases accordingly. So I think there's some opportunities to continue a bit lower, at least to the breaking area, and from there we need to wait and see what will happen. Of course, again, we have both pound news and yen news during the week, and those news might create unexpected movements, and those news might cause all these levels and key zones and key interest zones in the chart just be useless and create new movements, okay, and new demand or supply areas. So we need to take that into account. But if I'm going to go to lower time frames, I'll try to short this market. Now let me go. I wish you could do these sessions at 1:30 p.m. as I now have to go to work. Shame, but you can watch the recording. I think if you watch it later on, most of what we say here will still be relevant. 5ers dashboard not working, aware of that. The dev team is full hands-on. Very frustrating from our side as well. But that was an overflow of people just coming in at once and trying to deal with that. Sorry about that, and thanks for the patience. Hi from Italy. Welcome, David. Why is the dashboard not working, guys? I wanted to buy my bootcamp today and start today. I really hope it's going to be sorted out by today. Mark Hutchins, thoughts on euro pound? See resist in the area. Mark, okay, so euro pound. Let's pull that. Euro pound. Okay, so Mark, what do you see on the euro pound? You're mentioning see resistance in the 88.9ish, 88. Okay, so you identify that resistance. Now, what are you expecting now, or what you're going to do now? Are you expecting the market to hold and you will sell, or are you more like this is a weak resistance and I'm going to buy? I'm curious about what's your approach. I can give you mine, but of course I don't want my what I think of the pair to interfere. I don't want to interfere with what's your reading of the market. So just let me go. Let me know. Euro yen. Patrick, good to see you, Patrick. So Euro yen, I've shorted Euro yen. It appears the price is stalling now. Euro yen. Let's pull that. Yeah, the yen pairs are providing some opportunities. I'm expecting Euro yen to be similar to the pound yen. Let's find out. Yeah, not quite. And you shorted. So I remember we had a similar price action. I remember the resistance and remember we broke, and we already got to the target area, to the supply area. In this case, we can see we had the first reaction and then continuation higher. So this is a different price action. I would have to do a deeper analysis to see the difference between the euro yen and pound yen. Same for dollar yen, which has a different dollar yen. What price you have in gold? We reviewed for adjustment made each by voila. Okay. Yeah, so euro yen is okay. So let's try to say that together. We had the breaking point. That was the purple line. We see the breaking point hasn't been retested from last time. Okay, we still have nice demand there. We haven't visited that one. We had the first reaction. That's the week. This is the week on the dailies. But a fail on following through. We have full recovery, and this is a kind of a weak recovery. And since then we had push to the downside, and again weak movement to the downside. So I see weakness on both on both currencies. That's for the euro yen, which makes sense because we saw the euro dollar very just moving sideways, and the dollar yen again moving sideways. So the euro yen, we have weak movement to the upside, weak movement to the downside, and now weak movement to the upside. This is very hard price action to trade, if you're intraday trading that, because you see the market just going up and down, up and down, up and down with a little bit of bias, but going up and down, up and down. I don't really like to. Not huge fan of trading those, but I'm a big fan of waiting for those weak movements to approach a strong area. In this case, the next strong area might be here. There wasn't a lot of continuation to the downside, so I don't know how strong is this area, but we will have to wait. We'll have to look for previous really strong areas, and as long as the market continues upside, to the upside, but in this weak way, in this compression channel, I'm a huge fan of just shorting that. But as it is now, very unclear and very dirty chart for me, so I would stay away from this chart until we get to a comfortable trading area and clear price action. That's just me. Patrick, if you have if you're reading things differently, that's perfectly fine. It's just I look for clear price action, and I just don't see it here. So Mark, going back to we were euro fourth. Okay, and you're looking to sell the resistance. Okay, I mean, once we want to do something, it's very easy. It's very easy to find reasons to justify what we want to do. And if I would like to short this, there would be a lot of reasons why. Okay, I could explain why it's good to short. I mean, we have some supply here that we haven't retested. Okay, let me clear that. But we do have a supply that maybe that's the first retest of that, but there might be some resistance, as you mentioned here. We have resistance there, so those are valid selling points. We are coming, however, from strong buying movements. Okay, we have this strong movement. Looks like we're creating another push to the downside, so it's fine to short, not forgetting we are in this sideways context, and as long as you know where are you getting out. So if I was shorting this this whole setup, by any means I would like to be in if we break that level. If you're shorting only that area, then you wanna place your stops accordingly. That's a great area just to be many times you short this area, and if your stops are here, you get stopped out, we react to previous supply, and then we see the market going down. So the context of shorting, getting like a ranging approach is good because we really are moving sideways completely. So until one of those days we high impact news, which is Wednesday, if I recall right, there's an argument for shorting that. Just be aware of where you need to close your trades if this continues to rally, and of course mentioning taking profits and these areas, it's also good because I don't know if this is going to be able to break all that support there without the help of a high impact news. So as long as you approach this as a range and you're trying to sell the top and just profiting at the bottom, I think that's a good idea. Okay, I think we're good with the chat. So let's see if we can find a little opportunity here. When I go to lower and lower time frames, I told you on the pound yen I want to be shorting, but I go lower time frames. I need to be careful with my readings because this is not a moment I want to be shorting. Okay, this is the same channel. I'm always saying that are weak movements to the downside, and now it has the potential to move aggressively to the upside. So I want to be careful with just selling, from just because I said I need to be bearish biased. Okay, so my bias is still bearish, but when I go to lower time frames, if I want to be active on a 1 minute chart, I don't want to be shorting after this compression. Okay, this has a lot of potential to go all the way to these higher levels. So probably there, probably even there. So maybe I want to wait for the market to come to these levels, and then probably I'll feel more comfortable doing some scalping. Hey Denislav, hi. Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, we're just here waiting for price to see if something happens. Patrick, doesn't make sense to me. Hold short euro yen since the price is currently inverted as Canadian from. Okay, I respect that, and I think as long as you understand what you're doing, that's good. Looking at a several long AUD JPY. Mark came late, not sure if it was covered. Seems the sentiment was changed, was very strong last week, and those who started over the week. Profit taking, kind of looking bullish. Let's just recap the New Zealand pairs. I'm expecting that to look similar to the Aussie, which we mentioned we want to be, at least last week, were bearish biased. There was a reaction that would, especially on the dailies, will be very difficult. And if we see how price action has been formed on the New Zealand USD, we can see the movement to the upside was actually formed by a lot of ups and downs going up, and ups and downs going down, and ups and downs going up, and now ups and downs going down. So I don't expect just to pick momentum to the downside and push lower. But I think we're going to continue with this kind of slow movement to the downside. As similar to the AUD, we broke previous low when we saw last week increment in interest rate. We didn't see the reaction. That was the opportunity for the Kiwi to strengthen, and that failed. So I'm keeping my short neutral, slightly bearish bias. So once market, approaches these areas when I'm ready to short, I wanna pay attention to price action to see if they're gain momentum or slowing momentum. Okay, let's just take a little test trade. Let's see if there's any reaction of this supply area. That might fail, and we might find ourselves all the way to the next area, which is there. In that area, I might add to my position. Of course, if those two areas fail, okay, like this, okay, I see how that picks momentum. So I can opt to close that trade right now because it's just picking momentum instead of slowing down. Okay, so that's important. That's important to read price action. So at the area where I was waiting for a slowing momentum, I'm just seeing a peak in momentum. Okay, so I need to take that into account. Taking the loss is a good thing to do. Because I start very, very small with my positions, so I have the flexibility to maybe hold on my trade for 2 zones to see if we have an opportunity to short again at the top and maybe fix this trade, okay, or fix the sell. So we'll see what price action does. Okay, this is at least on the 1 minute chart. It is overextended. We said we're coming from this channel. There won't be a lot of sellers to stop the push to the upside, but this is overextended. So even if it's going to just continue to the upside, I expect a little bit of pullback and then a continuation to the high side. So once I don't need to be greedy in this one. Okay, my setup kind of failed once we had that reaction to the upside. So it's not a bad idea to close on break even and actually start building the opposite trade to the upside. Okay, so let's see what price does here. Okay, struggling to go down. This is a kind of a mid-range demand. So I was expecting price to come down to that area, and from there that would be a nice buying area. Let's see how we behave, and I might switch my position to the upside. Let's see. Come on. Yeah, it won't get it. It will not get there. We're pretty on shorting pound New Zealand, reach 75 daily time frame. I'll have a look in a minute, Patrick. I'm not a huge fan of using Fibonacci's. I like more looking at price action. Okay, but I'll have a look. Okay, this is certainly not doing what I wanted, so I might just kill this one. Okay, I'll wait for the next setup. Okay, I was expecting a deeper pullback to the downside, and then an opportunity to buy, and also the reaction I was looking for wasn't good enough, so I just killed it, and I'll save my capital for a better setup. So I will see if price comes down to this area or that area to buy, or if we come on a weak way to the next area, I will short again. Okay, that's just a little short there. Pound New Zealand. Pound New Zealand. Shorting pound New Zealand reach daily time frame. I don't know where you're measuring from, Patrick. If you're measuring all this range, if this trade works out, you are buying pizza for the room. Yeah, it didn't work. I just scalped it. But I have no problem buying pizza for the whole room. So everyone who will come to the London, we can get some pizza and beers together. I just never get married with my first analysis. Okay, so if the market is not doing what I expected to do, I just rather killing that trade. Why keeping it open if it didn't go the way I wanted to? Recent few candles. This one, this range. So I'm not sure if that's the whole range you're seeing or that one there. But I assume you're speaking of this one, the little one. And if you do, again, the Fibonacci level does not say a lot for me. I would need to go to lower time frames. Yeah, and see what price action is doing. Okay, so we have extreme supply, that's a selling area. We have mid-range supply. Okay, so you see, I hope you see it. Okay, you see the supply. We have the first impulse, second impulse, so that creates a mid-range supply. Okay, so in this case it turns out it's at the same level of the Fibonacci 68, correct? So that's a great sell, by the way. So if you're shorting that area and you're maybe your stop's there, that's a great selling area. Now the context is again very choppy, so that gives you argument for going both long and short. So I think that's a good one. And if this goes to the upside, the 100% retracement, okay, the extreme supply is also a good sell. Yeah, so that's a good, well spotted. Especially if we manage to break the demand, that little demand, I don't see anything here. Okay, there's nothing here. So if we break that demand, we might see a movement all the way down there. So if you're already short and you trail your stops, you have nice, you have a really nice reward ratio. Yeah. Okay, guys, I think we're going to wrap up here. I really don't see a lot of movements and setups there. My bias pound yen is still intact. Just set up on a 1 minute chart also gives me a little bit of bias, but through the week I'll be looking for maybe short opportunities on clearer areas. So thanks for coming, thanks for staying, thanks for the patience, guys, with the challenges with the dashboards. We're really working hard for getting all that solved, and of course exciting for starting this new area with all of you, with the new programs. and we'll see you next week. See you guys. Thank you.